Friends, the psalmist shares with us, I was glad when they said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. Welcome to God's house, your home, people of God, and to worship here at Black Mountain Presbyterian Church. We are certainly grateful to have all of you with us on this Celebration Sunday. For all members who are worshiping with us at home through our live feed, through Facebook and YouTube, we welcome you and we miss you. Our bulletin for worship is available on our website if you would like to print that off and follow along with the liturgy and music this morning. We are so very grateful to Anna Banzoff for her voice and for leading us in music today. Friends, we are sowing our seed and planting our future here at Black Mountain Presbyterian. And we cannot do that without hearing from our outreach partners in our local community and around the world. We dream with our partners of how our rebuilt, renovated, and refreshed spaces will strengthen our relationships with God and one another, but also and primarily open our doors, our walls, our windows, our porches to the growing needs of our community. That is our focus today in worship as we celebrate the generosity of our members as well. And to celebrate, we are going to have sunflower cookies after worship. We will hand them out to everyone. And a little note, the cookies are made with almond extract. So if you're allergic, please stay away. Our children have also been working hard and growing seeds of gratitude during this past month. Make sure that you take a moment to read the gratitude cards on our art wall out in the narthex. A wonderful display of our children's gratitude for God and for our church. Our youth and parents will be having a car wash to raise funds, I think, for new picnic tables on the grounds for the Capital Campaign, and that is this upcoming Saturday, May 22nd. There will also be a prayer walk happening at the same time from 12 to 2. Both of those are from 12 to 2, where members can take a walk around the spaces that will be renovated, and you can dream with us about the ministry and the mission that will take place in these spaces. Friends, next Sunday is Pentecost Sunday, so we encourage you to wear red. And if you have not brought a piece of fabric for our Pentecost weaving, try to do so by tomorrow, because I think our arts group is going to be putting that weaving together. The children are going to be singing and leading us in worship next Sunday, so we encourage everyone to be here for this important day in the life of our church. It will also be Commitment Sunday for our Capital Campaign. And so today, we welcome our co-chairs of Sowing the Seed, Planting Our Future, Mary Carol Dodd and Bill Waterstrat, who have an exciting announcement to make. Yeah, I'll come up.
You want us down there, or
No,
can we be up
stay
here?
There. Yeah,
okay.
You're good.
Good morning, everybody. This has been an exciting week. We are in the CDC gave us some surprising and good news. I'm reminded of the story of Adam and Eve. Adam is talking to Eve, and he says, "My dear, we live in a time of transition." You got to think about that. There are only two people, okay? Your church is in a time of transition as well. The Church of Jesus Christ should always be leaning forward for the cause of Christ. And that is what we have set out to do in our Sowing the Seed, Planting Our Future campaign. You may remember 3 weeks ago, April 25th, we had a meeting. We called it the Advanced Commitment Time. And we had a very goodly turnout. The entire church was invited. We didn't expect everybody to come, but we had a good solid group that came and filled up the Gregory's living room and spilled out into the dining room. We had a short time for refreshments, and then we spent about an hour. I spoke about the campaign. Mary Carol spoke. We also had a little video that, for some reason, we haven't released to the congregation yet, but that will happen this week. It's a very professionally done video by Sam Weber of the two of us walking through the church house and trying. Many of you have not seen the church house lately, but this shows clearly the opportunities we have there, as well as the sad shape it currently is in. The idea of advanced commitment is to get a reading of what kind of support we will have for this campaign. I'm happy to report to you that following that meeting of a relatively small group of folks in our congregation, we have to date received 40 commitment cards, okay? And drum roll, please. Mary Catherine, will you come forward?
Mary Carol, I'm going to need your help if you can take this end.
And I'll take this end. All right, this, wait a minute. I'm good at some things, but math is not one of them. Mary Catherine, would you bring some meaning to these numbers?
Okay, I'll add a comma here.
That's a lot of numbers.
How about this?
I like that.
That is not the best comma.
That's a outstanding comma, in my view.
Okay.
Where's the next one going?
Maybe a comma here?
Can y'all
Right?
see? Can y'all see this? Okay, we've got
And
two.
maybe a dollar sign here? And maybe a period here.
Before I turn this over to Mary Carol and we look at our packets, to me that looks like 1,313,000.
130.
I can't see that far. 130 and 17 cents. Thank you, Mr. Begley. Mary Carol?
I can take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So thank you to those who've made a commitment so far. We're just really excited about all of the possibilities as we continue to dig deep. So now, if you will open up your packets, I'm going to walk you through that. So in your packet, first we're going to take a look at this brochure. And as you look through the brochure, this is something we put together a few weeks ago, but we were waiting on some of the drawings. But there's a little bit of information about the history of our church and some of the building projects that have gone on in our church. And if you'll take a look at the very middle, that gives you some drawings, some renderings of what some of these spaces could look like and what we hope they will look like, as well as some approximate costs. And there's also a section for frequently asked questions and a letter from Mary Catherine as well. So we would encourage you not to read this during the service because we want you to listen, but to take this home and take a look at it. And then also, we have got a beautiful prayer labyrinth in here, thanks to Janine Spiller. And so we hope that you'll take some time to work through this, hopefully several times this week. And then also there's a pledge card. And you can take a look at that, at the pledge card. So this commitment can be a commitment over a series of weeks or over 3 years. There's an opportunity for gifts other than cash, and that can be your prayers. We know that not everyone is able to make a financial commitment. We're all in different places, and the idea is just for everyone to make some sort of sacrifice in whatever that means in your life and in your situation. And that might be your prayers or your time, or it might be stocks or a financial commitment. So we just would love for everyone to participate in the campaign in some way. Like we said, whether it be through a financial commitment or through your prayers. So we'd ask that everyone take a look at this and fill this out and bring it back next week. You can also mail it into the church if you'd rather do that. Anything I missed, Mary Catherine or Bill, in the packet itself?
You have done a beautiful job.
Okay, so now let me see your eyeballs, everybody. Stop looking at your packets. Sorry, I was a high school teacher for 10 years, so I need to see your eyeballs. Also, we'd encourage you to come next week to pray for the different spaces in our church that we're hoping to work on and to renovate so that we can get our church in a situation where our buildings are taken care of for the next generation. I've said this before, but our last capital campaign was 37 years ago. And so I will be, I think 78, 79 next week in 37 years. And so think about where you will be in 37 years. And this is our time now to give and to dig deep and to really make a difference. And so we are not exactly sure how much all of these projects are going to cost. As you all know, the price of lumber changes and building changes. And so we are just hoping to raise as much as possible. And we also are hoping that the session continues to dream about the many ways that we can support our mission partners and our buildings, both here and outside our walls. So also, I just want to remind y'all, we know, y'all, that the church is not about the building, right? Do y'all remember this thing right here? You open the door and there are people, right? The church, this is a church right here. This is the people. However, our spaces are important. And I think about, as a child, the spaces I was raised in through preschool and elementary school, and Sunday school, and all that I learned there. I think about our youth room when I was growing up at my Presbyterian church, and all that I was able to gain in that space. I think about the basement of University Presbyterian Church in Chapel Hill, where I spent Thursday evenings in campus ministry, that then inspired me to want to do the young adult volunteer program in Argentina and set me on a whole different path for my entire life. So spaces are really important so that we can grow, and then as we grow, we can serve outside these walls. So today we're so excited to learn from and hear from some of our mission partners here at Black Mountain Presbyterian, and we look forward to all the many ways that we can continue to support those partners. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank
All
you
right,
both. Thank you. And our dear Jackie Kerr, who is our Director of Communications, printed every single one of these things in the packet, and she went on vacation yesterday after she was done. But if you see her, make sure to tell her how beautiful they are and to thank her. Friends, please join me in let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship with the gift of music. Join your voices with mine as we are called to worship this day. We worship God, who inhabits our world and dwells with creation. We need not listen to the distant thunder to find God. We need only listen to the music of life, the words of children, the questions of the curious, the rhythm of a heartbeat.
We worship God, who inhabits our world and who dwells in our lives.
Here in this place the new light is streaming, now in the darkness vanished away. See in this space our fears and our dreamings, brought here to you in the light of this day. Gather us in the lost and forsaken, gather us in the blind and the lame. Call to us now and we shall awaken, we shall arise at the sound of our name. Not in the dark of buildings confining, not in some heaven light years away. Here in this place the new light is shining, now is the kingdom and now is the day. Gather us in and hold us forever, gather us in and make us your own. Gather us in, all peoples together, fire of love in our flesh and our bone.
Good morning. My mantra comes from the African proverb, "It takes a village." I am thankful to be part of Black Mountain Presbyterian Church for over 30 years, as this congregation cares for the village and asks, has everyone been fed? Thank you. Has everyone been fed mercy? Mercy is defined as the compassionate treatment of those in distress. Those suffering in distress include the 1 in 5 adults and the 1 in 6 children ages 6 to 17 in this country that are diagnosed each year with a mental illness. During the pandemic, from August 2020 to February 2021, the percentage of adults with symptoms of anxiety and depressive disorder increased from 36.4% to 41.5%. That's a lot of people. The Black Mountain Counseling Center, with the continuing support of this congregation, has existed for over 14 years as a place of acceptance and mercy. Early on, this congregation joined in the vision, providing mental health services to clients regardless of their ability to pay. More than half of our clients receive help for their counseling sessions because of your donations. 1,500 different clients have been served by our licensed professionals, and the staff has grown from 2 counselors to a staff of 15, and we're looking to add more. On Friday, one of our counselors said to me that a client told her that it was nice to have someone to listen to her and value her. We frequently deal with issues of abuse, significant drug addiction, rape and incest, suicide, severe anxiety, and depression. Because we're a professional office in a place that is safe and confidential, there's a limit to what I can say about our clients, but here are a few examples. Being a village means showing compassion to a single mom with a young daughter who has struggled with depression, encouraging her to develop courage to finally escape domestic violence. Being a village and showing mercy to a 75-year-old widow in an unsupportive environment and needing support and encouragement to move on with her life and on to a safe place. Being a village to a young adult coming from an abusive home and never having a voice, trying to find her way in a world of closed doors. Because of your support, she has been able to receive counseling and career coaching and at the center, and with that support, she has been able to apply to college and move on. Compassion with a teenager going back and forth between arguing divorced parents, one with a mental illness, the other a recovering alcoholic. Through her work with the counselor, she is able to have appropriate boundaries and navigate life. Mercy, working with folks with addictions, such as a middle-aged woman with a history of over 30 years of substance abuse, raped as a child with severe anxiety and constant panic attacks. After working with the counselor, she is now over a year of sobriety and has developed tools to manage her anxiety. Thank you for being the village. Our new and exciting news is that with continuing support of Black Mountain Presbyterian and the village, we are able to expand our services into Old Fort with an office at Old Fort Presbyterian. We are eager to grow our mission to provide services to those in that community that are unable to receive counseling services they need due to financial constraints. Thank you for helping us feed those needing compassion and mercy. Has everyone been fed?
Friends, every Sunday we come to this beautiful baptismal font during our time of confession. Why do we do this? We come to the font because we remember the baptismal promises that were given on behalf of us. If we were a child, if we were an adult when we were baptized, we know that we promised to follow God's way and light in the world, to follow the good and not the evil, and to value those things of God's kingdom that everyone been fed? We ask that question together. But we know that there are times when we do wrong. We know there are times when we make mistakes. We know that there are times when we sin, and we separate ourselves from God, from one another, and from our very selves. And so we come to this font to remember God's grace, to remember the waters that were poured upon our head during our baptism. So as we prepare to come to our confession this day, remember that grace. Please pray with me. Wise and wondrous God, we come before you and one another to tell our truth, to seek truth, and to live the truth. We come to you hoping for guidance and inspiration. We confess that our lives are more cluttered than committed. Sometimes we do not know why we do what we do, and we become preoccupied with trivial matters. We ask you to forgive us when we miss the true abundant life. Grant us an awareness of your will so that our values may be aligned with your kingdom where everyone is fed. God of forgiveness and hope, enable us to follow you in worship and grateful service all the days of our lives. Amen. Friends, hear this good news. For God so loved the world that he gave. For God so loved the world that he gave his beloved Son, so that we may be free. So go out into the world to serve and to love. Friends, believe this good news. In Jesus Christ, we are forgiven.
I'm gonna live so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna live so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna sing so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime. I'm gonna sing so God can use me anywhere, Lord, anytime.
Family. When I think of Black Mountain Presbyterian Church, I think that our church, like Swannanoa Valley Christian Ministry, practice daily the Matthew 25. The verses are how we serve our neighbors coming to SVCM in need of assistance. Whether they come for financial assistance, food, or clothing, they come knowing that SVCM is a place they will be received and shown God's grace. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. Recently, we had a client come in who had found an apartment in our area through help from Homeward Bound. She was brought to SVCM by her Homeward Bound case manager to be established as a new client of the ministry. She came needing food for her new home. We every day have a daily food list of items we have available at our food pantry. The volunteer that assisted her came to my office, humbled and in tears when this client left. She said the client could not believe that even though she could not come into the building at this time, she had a choice of the food items she could receive. She told the volunteer that she was so thankful for being treated as a real person with choices. She told her she was not always been treated that way. A person that was so affected by something as simple as someone giving them simple choices about the things that we all take for granted. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. Our staff and volunteers give the gift of kindness, encouragement, and hope, which for many of our clients is something they can drink into their very beings. Many just need some reassurance and a kind word from someone. At SVCM, the staff and volunteers take the time to listen, pray, and show God's grace to each person. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. In December, I received a call from a mother with 2 children, and she was also a new client to SVCM. She was desperate for help with her rent. She is employed and has a very good job, but her hours had been cut in half due to COVID. She also had talked to me and told me that she was in need of some surgery, and having met her deductible, she was hoping that she would be able to have surgery by the end of the year, but again, COVID was holding this up. She just needed someone to talk to. Well, through the help of a generous angel family from Black Mountain Presbyterian Church, we were able to pay her rent in full. She was beyond grateful. She also signed up her 2 children for our Johnny Jane's Christmas Cheer program. And when I called her landlord, he too was extremely grateful, as he depended on that rent to be able to pay the bills for his family. To many of our homeless, in this community, they are strangers to many people, but they aren't to us. They're very special. This past winter, we could not hold shelter congregately, of course, at in the fellowship hall at Black Mountain First Baptist Church, but I had gotten a grant and they allowed us to use it, and with that and other funds through the ministry, we housed over 32 homeless in our community in 6 different hotels. And we were so thankful that the hotels worked with us. Many of the ones we worked with this winter were working. There were couples and they were both working, but they cannot find anywhere that they can afford in this service in our area. And many of them walk to work because they do not have vehicles. I needed clothing. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. Our homeless need clothing on a regular basis, as what little they own gets wet or dirty. If you think about the homeless, most have no vehicle, so they are walking everywhere. So clean, dry socks and decent shoes are invaluable to them. The recent Happy Feet campaign we've been holding here at Black Mountain Presbyterian Church, through this generosity, is going to help so many with those needs. We have since then had a number of clients come in needing socks, and it is so wonderful to be able to have them available for everyone. I was sick, and you looked after me. I hope I get through this story. Many of you have heard the story of the family with the little 11-year-old with brain cancer. They are one of our dear families at SBCM and have been for a number of years. This is a family that tries to make it. They try so hard. Both the mom and dad were working at a local restaurant. The mom was a waitress, so in March, last March, lost her job, and the husband's hours were cut due to COVID. So in February this year, their oldest of 6 children was diagnosed with brain cancer. They rushed him down to Lake Forest Brenner's Children's Hospital, and he has since then undergone 2 brain surgeries and now has finished his 4th week of chemo and radiation. Has 2 more weeks to go, and then it's still a long road ahead for this family. When they called, we called them when we found out, and we paid for meals for them down at the hospital when they first got down there. And when they were getting ready to leave, they said they had some meals left. Was it all right to share those and let other families have those? And we said, of course. So throughout the past few months, the mom and I have kept in touch almost weekly. We assisted them with child care because 3 of their youngest children are in daycare. The daycare has been kind and is only charging them for 2 children, but that's still $1,000 a month. So we also, through Buncombe County, have been able to help them get all of their rent paid for and a few months forward. But they have a long, hard road ahead of them, but through it all, they know that SVCM will do all we can to help them. We will listen, we will comfort, we will do whatever we can for this family. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. So we've had 2 gentlemen that have come out of prison recently this week. So one of them had just gotten out of prison, and he was headed to Morganton and stopped by just for some food. He had this small bag with him and said, "This is all I own." So we asked him if we could find him a backpack, and luckily we had a wonderful backpack that we gave him. Asked if he needed clothing, and he says, "I have 2 t-shirts and a pair of jeans, maybe 1 more pair of jeans, but otherwise I'm okay." And so we got him another pair of jeans. He didn't have a jacket, and so we found him one. He was so humble in what he asked for. He brought a Bible out of his bag of possessions and said, "This is all I really need." And the second one came on Friday, and he'd been out of prison for a few weeks and was living in our service area and came with a friend. And he was wearing shoes that weren't his size. So again, Happy Feet. We were able to get him a pair of shoes and socks that the shoes fit him, and some nice dry socks, and we had a second backpack we had uncovered the day before. And one of his friends that had brought him thanked us for all we had done to help his friend. The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Each day at SVCM, we help our neighbors who have come to us in a time in their lives when they need a helping hand. Sometimes it's not the big things like keeping their power or water on, or providing heating assistance or rent assistance. Sometimes it is a pair of shoes and socks, or being given a choice of food items, a kind word, or a person who takes the time to listen. Showing grace does not have to be big. It has to be heartfelt.
The joy of Feed a Family at Thanksgiving, I wanted to mention, I had to really do a double take when I was standing next to Cheryl during Feed a Family this year. And Cheryl is like a pastor, or is a pastor. She knew almost every car. She knew the children in the back seat. She knew them by name. And I know that's true for Ellen and for all of us who are working. It's such a joy to be here in this active, alive, vibrant congregation. And Anna's mother came, and I've never seen such an active group of people. And I've been going around town. It's not just Ingalls where I see them everywhere. So for our faith sharing with children today, without children here, you need to know there are 30 families in elementary and 20 families in, well, it's a little big, 10 families in preschool and 30 in elementary and 30 in high school. And a lot of them are not here, but they are part of this church and they are a part of what we're doing. And we're going to do something that would work today. I'm going to ask you to stand up when you have been involved in one of these ministries and one of these activities. If you can't stand, that's all right. You can raise your hand or just stand in your heart. But stand up with me so we can see how we are indeed a village that's alive and active and growing and strong and just awake to the call of Christ. So let's start with the nursery. And if you volunteer to the nursery at any point, and preschool, and also the weekday school, which is a major ministry of this church on this wing. Anyone help there? Please stand up. And then let's go on to elementary and extended session. Keep standing. If you helped out with the Wednesday night activity, we are beginning that at a little pilot run of 8 weeks this spring, and we'll be back with a full Logos-like program on Wednesdays. And how about if you've been involved with youth at any point along the way? Please stand up. And how about Sunday school classes? We have Margot and Austin who were meeting this morning, and George Thompson online, and Dave and Ellen McClintock leading a study, and Earth Care. And then we go into our prayer groups. I could keep going. I have pages. Try to keep it moving. Now I'm going to speed up so the children can know we're moving. So prayer groups, small groups, circles, 7 different circles. The old fellers, the widowers, the Thursday night fellowship. They have varying names which cannot be repeated here. And support groups and other small groups. Now all the teams and committees. Come on up, elders. And once you're an elder, you're always an elder. You may not like that, but it's true. And so from the cradle to the grave, doing ministry. You involved in worship and music, please, and First Light, please stand. And now more of our mission. If you've been involved in any of our mission partners, and international mission, and Guatemala, Malawi mission, and then think about some other subgroups involved with, and think about what happens when you do this. It's not that we just worship, of course. It is that we connect. We begin to trust. And do we not need trust? And from trust, then our hearts are moved. Perhaps they're warm, strangely moved, and we begin to feel the Holy Spirit and the awareness that we are all one together. So blessings on your work, Black Mountain Presbyterian Church, your hands, your heads, and your hearts. Amen. You may be seated.
Friends, our Old Testament lesson for today comes from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30. So this is where Moses is about to give his final sermon to the people before he dies and before they cross over the Jordan River. So listen now for the word of our Lord taken from the 30th chapter, verse 15. Common English Bible Translation. Look here, today I have set before you life, and what's good versus death, and what's wrong. If you obey the Lord your God's commandment that I'm commanding you right now, by loving the Lord your God, by walking in his ways, and by keeping his commandments, his regulations, and his case laws, then you will live and thrive. And the Lord your God will bless you in the land you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away and you refuse to listen, and so are misled, worshiping other gods and serving them, I am telling you right now that you will definitely die. You will not prolong your life on the fertile land that you are crossing the Jordan River to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth as my witnesses against you right now. I have set life and death, blessing and curse before you. Now choose life so that you and your descendants will live by loving the Lord your God, by obeying his voice, and by clinging to him. That's how you will survive and live long on the fertile land the Lord swore to give to your ancestors, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Good morning, everybody. This is it's very emotional for me to be here today. It's like some sort of homecoming. Bounty and Soul hasn't been in this building for over 14 months, and it's so wonderful to see so many familiar faces and the love and support that's in this congregation. I want to share a story this morning about Martha. Martha is a participant that started coming to Bounty and Soul about 14 months ago when her daughter lost her job and she moved in with 3 of her grandchildren. Suddenly, Martha had to figure out not only how to feed herself, but now how to feed 4 other people in the household. Martha also struggles with anxiety and depression and high blood pressure. And this was a daunting task, to say the least, to now have to take care of 4 people that she didn't even know how she could take care of herself. And a neighbor told her about Bounty and Soul, about how you can come and get a big box of fresh fruits and vegetables and no questions asked. So Martha came, and she was completely overwhelmed. She was overwhelmed by the food that she received, but she was more overwhelmed by how she felt, how she was welcomed, and how she felt so valued. And she would come every week, pick up her box of food, bring it home, and her grandchildren would run in the kitchen, and they would unpack this box. And she called it her box of gold. And the kids would, take out the grapes and the strawberries. They couldn't even wait. They were so happy. And they learned how to cook these healthy meals by watching the videos that Bounty and Soul had put up on their website. And more importantly, they ate dinner together. And they were eating foods that they had never tried before. And each time they unpacked something and they cooked it and they shared it, they each were learning about, wow, this is rutabaga. This is what you do. This is why it's good for us. And all of a sudden, the kids became little nutrition experts. So months went on, and Martha witnessed her children and her daughter getting healthier and happier, even during the midst of a pandemic. And same with Martha. Martha lost 10 pounds. Her doctor took her off her blood pressure medication, and she was not battling her depression and anxiety anymore. And she looked forward each week to coming to Tuesday pulling in the big Bilo parking lot, how daunting that is, to be greeted by a dancing traffic director who may or may not be in this congregation. And then she would be welcomed with a big smile by a dancing tomato, or a turnip, or a carrot, or a kale, or my favorite, I'm a sugar snap pea. And then she'd be handed a little sample of a creamed tomato soup. And all along, she was looked in the eye and made to feel so special. And when she came through the line, she wasn't asked, how much money do you make? She wasn't asked, why are you here? She was just welcomed and asked, how are you today? And it transformed her life. Not only did it transform her health and her mental health, but it transformed how she showed up every day. She felt so moved by her experience that she then takes now boxes to her neighbors. And only doesn't she take boxes to her neighbors, she's now teaching them what she knows and what she's learned. Because the other thing about Martha was that in her box every week, she got a nourishment guide. And on that nourishment guide were little self-care tips of how to take care of yourself and why you're special and what you should do to love yourself and how to overcome depression or anxiety by breath work or mindfulness or meditation or prayer. And for the first time in her life, she looked within herself to say, I'm special, and I've been given this. How can I give this to others? So she spreads the Bounty and Soul love to her neighbors, and it is really at the heart of our mission. It's not really only about the food. It's about how we connect with one another, how we see each other, hear each other, and value each other. And that's the true ministry that God has given to us all, is to see, hear, and value each other and love each other deeply. And whether you do that with food or provide assistance with transportation or mental health, it's all about being together as a community to help one another, truly. And Black Mountain Presbyterian has walked this journey every step of the way with Bounty and Soul, from hosting us for the markets to giving up of your time, your resources. You have been there in this journey with us. And as we face the pandemic, you all saw, we went from serving about 850 people a week to over 2,400 people a week. And with the help of a community, we transitioned a model to be able to serve that many people and distribute that much food. 30,000 pounds of fresh produce every week. And it could not have been done with one person, two people. It was truly, as you speak, about a village. And as we move forward, we're still called to do that, to work as a village, to support each other. So I just want to thank you all for locking arms with this organization that started 7 years ago to be able to provide for a community, together with a community. And the other thing about Martha is that she's now a volunteer, and what she does is she creates the little love notes or the inspirational notes that go into each one of our boxes every week. It is what on days felt overwhelming to her was just what she needed, besides the nice fresh cut flowers that she received in her box as well. So we're really excited to take and grow together. We're moving our operations and our volunteer hub to a new location. We have totally outgrown every space that we occupy, except of course the Bilo parking lot. And we are this week moving into 4,000 square feet of a warehouse space So that will allow us to continue our work and to grow. And you have all been part of that and will continue to be part of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Allie. Our second reading today is from the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 25, verses 34 through 40. Listen for the word of God. So I was afraid. I'm sorry, this must not be right. I'm sorry. Let me start again. The king will say to those at his right hand, "Come, you that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I say to you, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Buenos dias. So good morning. As I sat down to write the words for this part of the service today, I struggled at first in connecting the celebration of our capital campaign with the partnership that we have in Guatemala. And as I mentioned before, I just kept coming back to the spaces that I grew up in church as a child, and as an adolescent, and as a college student, as a young adult, and now as a past young adult time, moving towards the middle-aged time of my life, and just how these spaces that I have been able to be in inside these church walls throughout my life have prepared me to then go out. And as I am now raising my children, as you all really are helping to raise my children as part of this village of Black Mountain and Black Mountain Presbyterian Church, I am excited about the possibility of these spaces inside our church walls where my children will grow and then, with all that they have learned, go out and be the hands and feet of Jesus Christ. So this year marks the 27th anniversary of our partnership with Ebenezer, Iglesia Presbiteriana in San Antonio, Guatemala, and how sweet it is to be in relationship with our dear sisters and brothers there. They have opened their hearts to us, they've opened their homes to us, and I'm so thankful for the many lessons that they have taught me, as well as others in this congregation who've had the opportunity to travel there or be in contact with our brothers and sisters there. So thank you, Black Mountain Presbyterian, for your support of them for the last 27 years. Each year we've supported about 25 to 30 children and adults in a scholarship program. When our church asked them many years ago, how can we help? What do you need? What they said was education. We want education for our children so that they can have hope for the future and that they can improve their lives. And so when I think of the scholarship program there, I see faces. I see Elena. She's now in her 70s. And Elena was not able to finish elementary school as a child because of the circumstances in her community and in her family. But through the scholarship program that you all have supported, she was able, as an adult, to go back and finish elementary school and middle school and high school, and then go on to seminary. And this past year, she was ordained and is now the pastor of our sister church in Guatemala. I also think of Cindy. She's my soul friend in Guatemala, and she was a teacher, and through the scholarship program was able to go to university. And then after that, she wanted to continue on. She was a high school teacher, and last year she just finished her master's in education administration. And because of COVID, unfortunately, she's lost her job because of cuts right now, but she is equipped with the tools to hopefully be able to find a job to really improve her family, to inspire her children. She now has twin boys as well as a beautiful 9-year-old daughter. And her passion for young people and environmental education and making her country and her community better inspire me. And when I think of the scholarship program, I see Teresa. She's a hardworking, motivated future leader. She's in high school right now, and each time I am there with her, I just see this twinkle in her eye and this brightness, and she is so encouraged by this opportunity to be able to go to school and to fulfill her dreams. So when I think about the Guatemala Partnership, I think about our sisters and brothers there, but I also think about our community here. I think of the time that we've spent in this church building, learning about Guatemala, preparing for visits, and having conversations that just wouldn't be possible without the travel that we have experienced to San Antonio and the relationships we've built. So without naming these youth, because I didn't ask to use their names in this this morning, I think about one youth from our church through his relationship with friends in San Antonio and travels there, has inspired him to focus on public health and developing countries in his study in college. I think of another youth who is interested in pursuing politics, and through his experience in San Antonio, paired with learning about the history of U.S. involvement in Guatemala, particularly in the 60s and 70s, all of that will forever influence the decisions he makes in his life. I think about in particular one young woman who traveled to Guatemala and just how that has opened her heart and opened her eyes. And I just am so grateful for the many ways that Guatemala has changed us and the ways that we live our lives day to day. As we learn about God and we grow here in the walls of Black Mountain Presbyterian Church, our hearts also grow so that we can go out into the world, so that we can serve in these amazing organizations here in Black Mountain and also out into our international partners as well, just to give and receive God's generous love. So while COVID has been especially hard on Guatemala and our sister community, they're still looking forward, trusting wholeheartedly in God. Our church and presbytery, you all have helped to send assistance for medical help and for food during the past year especially, and in the past years, and they're beyond grateful for your support. So I'm in regular communication with these church members. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and just ask that you continue to keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And thank you for helping to deliver hope to them.
The Church of Christ cannot be bound by walls of wood or stone. Where charity and love are found, there can the church be known. True love will not sit idly by when justice is denied. True mercy hears the homeless cry and welcomes them inside. If what we have we freely share to meet our neighbor's need,
Good morning, everyone. When Mary Catherine asked me to share some of my thoughts around faith formation and how it relates to the mission of our church, my mind was flooded with all the things I cherish about this community of faith that my family calls home. I was taken back to the first time Jamie and I walked through the doors for worship, and the way we were greeted with the smiles of friendly faces, met with a warmth and welcome that is unique to this congregation. With time, we began to learn more about the amazing work of this church family within the walls of our building, in the local community, our region, and the world. After our children were born, we experienced the love of this congregation in a different way, through the eyes of Josie and Jillian. So many of you know our children by name, greeting them with a smile and taking time to talk with them. I'm sorry. Josie and Jillian look forward to any opportunity to be at church or to be with folks they know from this community, because they feel seen and heard and loved here. And this is what I believe is building the foundation of their faith and their relationship with God. As I think ahead to my hopes for the future of the children and youth growing up in this community of faith, and the excitement for the changes that the Capital Campaign will bring, I am drawn to reflect on my own faith formation journey and the church experiences I had during my childhood and adolescence. I grew up going to a very small Presbyterian church. There were not many children or youth, so by default, everything we did was intergenerational. From a very early age, I was enthusiastically invited and welcomed by the adults around me into all aspects of the life of the church. These interactions and the relationships built through them formed the foundation of my faith and were the most impactful ways in which I learned about the love of God. It wasn't until my adulthood that I began to realize what a true and rare gift this really was, to grow up steeped in a group of people of all ages who served together, who laughed and cried together, who worshiped together, picking up trash along our Adopt-a-Highway route, sharing a meal at the first Sunday potluck each month, the outdoor Easter sunrise service, participating in the monthly church cleanup, volunteering at the adult day program housed within our church building, camping trips, and late afternoon volleyball games. These shared experiences are the moments that shaped the way I see the world and that taught me to walk with God. I am filled with excitement as I learn more about the plans to renovate and renew the church house and fellowship hall. It is my sincere hope that these revitalized spaces will bring people and families of all ages and stages together, offering opportunities to deepen our existing connections and make some new ones, to give the youngest members of our community the gift of knowing that they truly belong, and to nurture the formation of their faith. For me, these relationships are at the heart of the mission of the church. They form the foundation from which all the other work is done. I give thanks for this community of faith and look forward to what the future holds as we all continue to grow and evolve together along this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. So much of what we do at the offering is about time, talent, and treasure. You've heard that many times. Today I would like for you to pause and take your connection cards out and think about those deepest longings you have that let your talents and your gifts live out. And write those on the card today, please. You know, Joseph Campbell talked about following your bliss about 20, 30 years ago, and this whole idea of getting this deep, deep longing and focus about where the depth of our meaning and our existence truly lies. Well, this is at the center of Christ's teachings in the gospel. Where is yours? Share that today as well as your offering.
I'm going to ask David to come join me, and everyone who spoke today, will y'all come and gather up front with us? It is a simple and a profound question. Has everyone been fed? I believe this question will lead us into our future together if we continue to ask that question together as a body of Christ. So as you go out into the world this day, may we continue to ask the question, has everyone been fed? May we ask it with courage and hope in our hearts. May we hold on to the goodness of God. May we honor all of God's children, loving and serving the Lord, rejoicing in the power of the Holy Spirit as we go. Amen.